Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today we are revisiting the books that I bought last August. So we're going back to August 2018, looking at what I bought, looking at what I read from what I bought, and I have to choose one and I will put it on my August TBR for this year. So let's get into it. I bought 20 books last August, which is quite a big haul, considering that I think I made it like my mission to reduce the amount of books that I was buying around that time. So clearly I started badly. So I had 20 and I did 2 hauls. We'll start with haul number 2 because that's the way I've written it down here. So for convenience sake. So the first book that I got last August was The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. Now I read this fairly recently. Was it in May? Yes, it was in May that I read that. And I didn't love it. It was fine, but it wasn't my favorite of Kate Morton's books. I think I gave it 3 stars in the end, and I'm unhauling that one, unfortunately. But that centers around, the premise on the back says that it centers around a group of artists who go to this beautiful estate to get inspiration for their artwork, and it leaves one woman missing and one woman dead. And you're finding out that mystery, but you meet so many characters. It's like character overload. And the house is almost the central character because you keep coming back to the house and who lived in the house and the mysteries surrounding the house. And usually that would be like amazing for me, but there were so many characters and some of them I found pointless. This is not a review video, April, but here I am. So that's book number 1. I also got The Given Day by Dennis Lehane. I think this is the only historical fiction that Dennis Lehane has written, and this is set in Boston. We follow a white family and a black family in the 30s, I want to say, and we meet all sorts of very famous people as well. I think Babe Ruth is in there. So there's that book. I also picked up Experimental Film, which is a horror book, and it's based on found footage of this basically silent siren in, I don't remember what decade it was, early 20th century. And she died or went missing, and like no one was to find out from her again. And this found footage kind of dives into what actually happened to her. H is for Hawk is another book that I picked up last year. This is like a very beloved nonfiction book about grief. This woman's father died and she took up, it's not birding, is it? What is it called when you take care of hawks on raptors? I can't remember the word. But she starts taking care of this hawk and it slowly starts to bring her spirits up, and she kind of immerses herself in the world again because of this hawk. I also got Beauty. I think my sister gave this one to me. This is nonfiction. It's by this Irish author and it's very much like a self-help kind of book. Alex is next. Now I read this one. This is by Pierre Lemaitre. If you don't know, he wrote Blood Wedding, which I loved. Like one of my favorite books that I read last year was Blood Wedding. Now I read Alex and I was not as blown away by it. It was really fast paced, don't get me wrong, like I was flipping the pages. I needed to know what was happening next. He's really amazing for that. He sets a very fast pace. But I really disliked the main characters, the way that the main character was described. It's about this woman who's abducted and put into this tiny cage in a warehouse, and her captor just wants her to die, just watch her die. And it's a terrifying premise, but it was so... She was hypersexualized in a way that I found like over the top and it became uncomfortable for me, like slightly disrespectful to her. So wasn't a huge fan of that one. That said, I still love that author. I will always read him. The Lying Game is next. This is by Ruth Ware. This is about a group of women. I think when they were younger, they played this game that had really bad consequences. Like it wasn't the smartest game to play. I don't know if they were the most thoughtful people when they were younger. In any case, they've kind of dispersed. They don't talk a lot, but one of them gets a text message from one of the girls in the group, and it's like, I need your help, and they know immediately who it is and what they need to do. I think there's a lot of secrets in here. It sounds like a lot of fun. The Child Finder is next by Renee Dunfeld. This takes place in the winter, and it is about a woman who is known as the Child Finder. She's able to find missing children, you know, after the trail has gone cold and the police have stopped investigating because they think the child is most likely dead. That's when people find this Child Finder woman, and she dives in. Now, she herself was abducted as a child, and it is about one of the cases that she's working on, and I think it probably brings up a lot about her own childhood and her experience. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng was a book that I bought last August and like read last August. I bought it and needed to read it immediately, and I loved that book. It's about a very small town, kind of suburbia more than town, and everyone's doing very well in the suburban neighborhood, but everyone like toes the line. You stay within your boundaries, you do a certain thing a certain way, and so when a single mother and her daughter come to move into this little suburban neighborhood, they really end up shaking things up, and it revolves around this adoption case. The adoption case really gets people in the town butting heads over who should have this particular baby and who shouldn't. And I felt like I was being led to one opinion, which I didn't like. But the book itself, I mean, I couldn't put it down. Then She Was Gone is by Lisa Jewell, and this one is another thriller. I got a lot of thrillers in August last year. And it's about a woman whose daughter vanishes, and she moves on with her life eventually. She marries, or she's starting to date another guy, and he has 2 daughters, and it's like at that point in the relationship where it's time to meet the kids, and she meets his daughter Poppy, and she's like, you look exactly like my daughter who went missing. And so you're trying to find out, was it the daughter who went missing? Who is she? And then finally, for that haul, I got A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. Now, Life After Life was my favorite book that I read last year, also by Kate Atkinson. The God in Ruins, or A God in Ruins, follows a character from Life After Life. We follow Teddy. He survives and goes through World War II. I actually don't know if he survives or not, but he literally lives through World War II, and it's about his experience. And we don't follow him in that experience when you're reading Life After Life. So there is that. And then I did a whole other haul. So that was the first haul. The second haul was The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. I read this and really enjoyed it. This is a collection of short stories by Jen Campbell. Some of it is very fairy tale-esque. Some of it feels more like sci-fi. There were a couple of stories in there that did remind me of Margaret Atwood, like Oryx and Crake kind of style. I think in particular the first one. I really enjoyed it. It's one of the most beautiful books that I own. So there's that. I've already read it though, so I'm not going to read that again. Next is Blood Wedding. So I received Blood Wedding last August, read it in a hurry. Loved it, loved it, loved it. This is about a woman who is a nanny, but she blacks out a lot of the time. I don't know why you would think maybe I should also take care of a child when you black out all the time, but she'll have situations where she'll go out onto the street to go and look for her car and drive off somewhere, and she can't find it. And then it's like 2 blocks down and she's like forgotten where she's parked her car. There are all sorts of situations like that. And she just thinks there's something wrong with her, but she doesn't know what it is. Well, one day she finds her, the boy that she takes care of, killed, like murdered. And she thinks that she did it or had something to do with it. And she goes on the run. And it is probably the most twisty-turny thriller that I've ever read. It was very shocking and so much fun. So I highly recommend that one. The Hour of the Fox is a historical fiction book about a woman who loses her, I believe, adult son. He dies. She is a lawyer. And her friend has a son in trouble with the law, and she agrees to take on his case. And I think all of the grief bubbles up in this. This one, apparently, you're supposed to read if you liked The Light Between Oceans, which, hello, yes, I totally did. Becoming Belle is a historical fiction book about abuse. And it is about the abuse between a husband and a wife. She started out with basically nothing. She was very poor in life. She married up, and unfortunately she also married a man who is incredibly abusive, and their relationship actually becomes like a major scandal in England, I believe, and like the marriage becomes super public in newspapers and everything. So that sounds intriguing. With You Always is another story about abuse. It's about a woman who I think marries a man or is dating a man who's abusive, and she knows she needs to get out of the relationship, but she's not sure exactly how to do that. Up from Freedom is about slavery, specifically about a man who decides for himself, like, I am never going to own a slave. His father is a slave owner. He just doesn't want to have anything to do with that. He meets one of his father's slaves who he knows will not survive under his father's tyranny. I don't know what the word is exactly, but he knows she's not going to survive. So he takes her. I don't know if he ends up buying her or kidnaps her and takes her away. And he moves somewhere else. I can't remember where. And during that time, he realizes that she is pregnant. And he starts to look at this child as his own. So that's Up from Freedom. Bride of New France is another historical fiction book about, well, it's based on a true event that happened in Quebec. So women in France who were very young, very poor, were given the choice to become the fille, I think it was called fille de roi, and basically they were sent from France to New France to basically build a population there. They would meet men there and marry a man and then have a bunch of children. And it's the story of one of the girls who decides to make this journey. I don't know how much of a choice they had, whether their parents were involved or what, but it is the story of her experience. The Sun Also Rises, classic, Ernest Hemingway. And then Faithless is by Karen Slaughter, and this is right in the middle of a detective series. I don't know why I bought a book right in the middle of it. That was really dumb on my part, because I can't read that. I need to start at the beginning, right? So those are the 20. Those are the 20 that I bought, and now I have to choose. I have 2 in particular that are calling out to me more than the others. The first is The Child Finder by Renee Dunfield. There's something about this that just is calling to me. Katie over at Chapter Stacks really raved about this book and loved it. It just sounds great, and like I got it in mint condition. The only thing about this one I will say is that it will be August when I'm reading this, and this is such a winter book. Like, there's snow on the cover. This takes place at Christmas, I think. So there's something about that I'm just not sure. Like, I'm fine usually reading something that's autumny in the summer, but this might be just a little too far. So there is that option. And then, of course, there's A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. Now, I mean, last year, Life After Life was my favorite book. And I know I've read Life After Life, I've read Transcription all last year by Kate Atkinson. I really liked them both. Like, there's something about Kate Atkinson that I just know I'm guaranteed to like her writing. I'm kind of wondering if I should go with this one because I know that I'll enjoy her writing, and it's in a crazy busy time of my life. Like, the baby is due in August. And I feel kind of like this might be a nice little reprieve. It might be a book that would like keep me flipping the pages, if that makes sense. I know it's not a thriller, but sometimes good writing will really help you flip the pages. Okay, I think I just convinced myself. I'm going with A God in Ruins. It is a bit of a beast of a book. Oh no, it's not. It's under 400 pages. I can do that. I'm going with A God in Ruins. Let me know in the comments below what book you would have chosen out of the 20. Which one would you have chosen? Have you read The Childfinder or A God in Ruins? What did you think of them? Don't give me spoilers. Please, no spoilers, because I do intend to read them both. I hope that you guys are doing well, and I will talk with you soon. Okay, bye guys.